Hello and welcome back to the Western European DPC coverage of the WePlay Animajor going on right now. Right now we have the second of two Western European teams to make their debut in the playoffs, and this one as well in the upper bracket, and this is between Team Nigma and VP. Now, similar to Alliance, we had not seen VP for almost a month now, and VP was coming off of back-to-back 7-0 seasons in the DPC. As impressive as that looks, a lot of people, including myself, had their doubts about just how strong the region is, seeing as in the two seasons combined they've only dropped 3 games, 2 of which to Team Spirit. And so heading into this game, I had huge expectations for Team Nigma, as they just looked absolutely unstoppable here, but I was still giving VP respect. Obviously these guys knew what they were doing. They finished top of their division 2 times in a row cleanly, but at the end of the day, Team Nigma just looked like the more experienced and poised team. Now if you watched the stream at all today, you know that this series was delayed a little bit. It originally was supposed to be the 3rd series of the day, but Miracle was sick. I think they said it was food poisoning, so rather than postponing the game for an hour or so, they just decided to put the Quincy crew and No Pink series first, and then after that concluded, they gave us the official confirmation that this series was still going to be happening. Now by the time that they postponed the game, they had already drafted and they were about halfway through the first creep wave of the game, and so similar to the last time that Nigma had to do a remake, they had the same draft, same heroes, same lanes, same starting items. Thankfully this time they were only 30 seconds into the game as opposed to last time where they were about 15, so there was no real lead that was lost or anything in the remake. Heading into this game, ILTW was 3-1 on Spectre, Miracle was 6-1 on his Invoker, Mind Control had not played a single game of Axe yet in this major, GH was 2-0 on his Rubik, and Kuroki was actually 7-0 to this point on his Lion. And starting off with the draft, I gotta say VP really came out with a solid looking draft. They had taken away a lot of prime heroes that Team Nigma may have been looking to grab, such as the Mars and the AA. Even the Ursa is one of ILTW's specialties in this tournament, and they looked for a mid-game tempo type of lineup. They had this Ursa draft where they wanted to get this first Roshan, take as much map control as possible, and really the biggest emphasis on the Ursa strat is getting the second Roshan. As soon as you're able to get that free shard onto your Ursa, you just become an absolute monster. And from there, teams usually are able to end the game. And so knowing this, Team Nigma did a really good job at spreading themselves across the map and never giving VP the freedom of going into that pit. Constantly pressuring lanes and getting kills and rotating with the Invoker. It wasn't until around 18 minutes when VP were able to get a successful fight with the Blink RP from GPK that they finally made their way into the pit. And honestly, from here, VP was really looking good. They had a lot of momentum on their side. They had taken down the first Roshan and they were using it properly. They were gathering a lot of map control and they were continuing to take favorable fights. However, Team Nigma spread themselves out properly and they just had Boots of Travel on their Miracle Invoker, so he was able to push out lanes. And similar to the Alliance series this morning, they were just simply not able to do enough with that first Aegis. And eventually when it expired, Team Nigma had a plan. They're going to build the Aghanim Scepter on Miracle's Invoker and they were just going to call people and then finger them and Cataclysm them and they would be deleted. And that's exactly what they did. Once that first Aegis expired, Team Nigma started grouping up and going for smoke plays where they would just end up absolutely deleting heroes, mainly the Magnus or the Mars. And eventually in one of these fights, they did that. They opened the fight off with a Haunt plus Cataclysm Axe Call combo. They take out 2 of VP's heroes who immediately buy back, and Nigma know that and they immediately back off. 2 minutes later, they do the exact same play, and this time the Mars that got blown up the first time does not have buyback. From there, Team Nigma is really able to cement their lead. They are able to take that second Roshan, get that shard, and this is where the game is looking really rough for VP. So despite the fact that VP was really far ahead and looked like they were playing their draft excellently, they're getting pickoffs and excellent team fights all over the place. But eventually they just hit the brick wall of not being able to shove lanes fast enough and not being able to get enough kills and towers while they had that first Aegis. By the time the Roshan respawned, Team Nigma had a very strong grasp over the game, and once they did get that second Aegis, it was pretty much over. I'll give VP credit, they did put up a good fight in that first game, but alas, it did go Team Nigma's way. They take that one 25-22 at 37 minutes and 46 seconds, and Team Nigma win that one on Radiant with last pick. You'll notice this as well, that every time a team has Radiant, they usually have last pick, and every time a team has Dire, they have first pick. It seems that teams are still prioritizing Radiant over Dire, and thus when they pick it, the other team takes first pick, which seems to be the other favorable pick between the two. I've mentioned a few times that it really just comes down to the team sometimes and which ones they prefer, but it seems that the meta right now seems to be first pick and Radiant are the preferred. And yeah, after that game, despite them having a Magnus, Team Nigma had the Invoker with the Midas and they did have a Spectre, so they pretty much outfarmed Virtus Pro by the end of the game, so they end up with a higher net worth in GPM and better KDAs by the end of it. Now jumping into game 2, like I said, the same orientation, except this time Team Nigma is on Dire and they have first pick, and they go for the same kind of strategy. They build their entire draft around this ILTW Spectre, which heading into this series, he was 3-1 on the hero. He is now 5-1 after this series. Miracle being 2-0 in the Razor thus far, he usually only plays this hero into Templar Assassin, which is what Virtus Pro drafted. It was a first phase Templar Assassin, which was immediately responded with by Miracle's Razor. So that's back-to-back games now where Miracle had his hero first phased. In that first game, they first phase his Invoker. Next up, we had Mind Control and the Beastmaster, who heading into this game was 0-1 so far in the major. GH's Winter Wyvern, which was 3-1 to this point, and Kuroki's Legendary Godlike Enchantress, which is 3-1 heading into this game. And unlike unlike last game, in the second game here, it really just looked like VP were never really able to get their feet off the ground. Due to odd drafting, they ended up putting the Mars on carry, who ended up with the lowest net worth of all the cores in the game. He had a lower net worth than his offlane Kunkka. And Virtus.pro drafted Mars in 2 games, and in both of those games combined, the Mars heroes had absolutely 0 kills. But yes, with this carry Mars and offlane Kunkka, even with the Templar Assassin, similar to the Alliance game that I mentioned earlier, they just at some point ran out of damage very early on. GH's Winter Wyvern with the Holy Locket build, and Kuroki's Enchantress with a Holy Locket as well. Team Nigma was easily able to out-sustain the very minor amount of damage that they had other than on the Templar Assassin. And funny enough, every single player on Team Nigma, again, has higher net worth, higher GPM than everyone on Virtus.pro, except for the offlane. Like I said, they very much prioritize DM's offlane Kunkka's farm more than their carry Mars's. And so DM actually ends up with a higher net worth and GPM than Mind Control's Peacemaster. And this one ends up being a much earlier GG. They don't even end up getting their tier 4 siege before they call the GG. They lose that last fight around the Roche Pit in desperation to try and find a way back into this game. But by that point, it was just over. They just had no more damage, and they were not going to outscale the cores of Team Nigma. So yeah, like I predicted yesterday, Team Nigma take this one 2-0. And yet again, VP has a very disappointing upper bracket run. I don't even know if you could call it that because it was only 1 round long, but they are heading straight to the lower bracket, where tomorrow they play again, and they are actually up against the other wildcard team, Vici Gaming. So Virtus.pro seeming to be unintentionally drawn to these wildcard teams, as it's the second tournament in a row where they're playing against one, and the second tournament in a row where they're getting beat by one in the first round. Again, there's not really a whole lot on the line for VP. Like I had mentioned yesterday, they've already qualified for TI. They don't really need any of these points. And Team Nigma, this is huge. This guarantees them top 6. However, they might need top 2. By the way that the standings are looking and the teams that are still left in this tournament, I think they need to make a grand finals appearance in order to make TI. They simply just do not have enough points to get in just off of the 300 that you would get from finishing top 6. And so Team Nigma move on to face PSG LGD, who just beat Team Alliance today. That is going to be an absolutely huge series. These guys played against each other in the group stage, and Team Nigma were one of the only teams to actually split the series against PSG LGD. And in the game that they won, it looked very convincing. So again, it's going to be a super exciting series. It was a lot of great Dota in that best of 2, and I'm super excited for the best of 3. And if you guys are as well, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to leave a prediction and a suggestion on how you think I can make these videos better. I'm going to be having a review of Team Alliance's series against Team Spirit tomorrow night. So if you don't want to miss that, please subscribe. And I'm also going to be making a preview of the PSG LGD Team Nigma upper bracket series tomorrow night as well. So anyways, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to leave your predictions in the comments down below, and I will see you guys later.